Today we're looking at the topic of a peaceful life, which if you've just watched me the last half an hour, you might be wondering, what on earth is me? what on earth is she talking about that? But what was also very interesting is I got an email from Matt asking me to do this talk a couple of weeks ago, literally at the same moment that I was about to text my prayer triplet, telling them how not peaceful my life was feeling right now, how I was all a bit on edge, and can you pray for me, and all these things. And this email came through, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to talk about this, because not only do I need a reminder about this, but there's just lots of things that we can learn about it. So, as we go through all of this, I want you to remember that I do need this as much as you do. We are going to be using examples from my life, just because that it's helpful, isn't it, when you hear stories or there's something to laugh about, to help you remember what's going on. But yes, this isn't me saying that I've got this all figured out. So we're reading from Colossians 3, verses 12 to 17. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly, as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. There's obviously an awful lot we can unpack from that. So today I've chosen just to focus on verse 15. And so I'm just going to read it out from a few other translations so that we can hear how it sounds in those as well. The New Living Translation says, "Let the peace that comes from Christ rule in your hearts, for as members of one body you are called to live in peace and always be thankful." The Message says, "Let the peace of Christ keep you in tune with each other, in step with each other. None of this going off and doing your own thing, and cultivate thankfulness." And then the Contemporary English Version says, "Each one of you is part of the body of Christ, and you were chosen to live together in peace. So let the peace that comes from Christ control your thoughts and be grateful." And we're going to spend a bit of time looking at this from two different angles. The first one is, what is in my control as a human to do things about being more peaceful and to live more peacefully with other people? And secondly, what can God do about peace? So we're going to start with some photos that we're going to ask you a question about. Then we're going to have a little neuroscience lesson, which is actually going to be quite fun. And then we're going to move on to how amazing God can be, even when everything feels the opposite. Okay, so here are two photos of me. Which photo do you think shows me feeling the most peace? One on the left, most people say. So, the actual answer is I was feeling an equal amount of peace in both of these photos. Now the reason for that is the photo on the left, it's looking all serene and lovely and sunshiny, and I was watching surfers, it's all lovely, I was all on my own, taking myself off to the wave because I realised I needed some time alone, which helps my well-being. But I was also there trying to revise an 85-page script for work, and I was also waiting for a message from a friend about some test results that she was having. So although the environment was very peaceful and lovely, I was actually feeling quite on edge. Now, the other picture is kind of a snapshot of what a normal fostering moment at any point could look like. So usually the house is completely trashed. I don't know who's last asked me whether I've given everyone water when they asked. There's people falling out. There's just everything is going on. But I have quite a unique inner sense of peace because I know I'm doing something that I am called to be doing. So although my life is actually a lot calmer when there's less children about, I actually feel less peaceful overall because my brain is whirring, going, who's coming next? What are we saying yes to? What are we saying no to? What's going on? So here's where the neuroscience comes in. Because of my job and because of some brilliant therapy that I've had over the years, I've learned quite a lot about the way that our brains work, and I've got lots of tools to help me feel more regulated. And I'm going to explain to you what that means, and we're going to start by doing that by using something called Dan Siegel's hand model. So some of you I expect to have heard about this already, but we use our hands to show us what our brains are doing at any point, okay? So our wrists are representing our spinal cords. I've not had to do this with a microphone before, it doesn't work. Our palm is our brainstem. Our thumb is our amygdala, so that's our fear centre, where all the fear gets triggered. And our fingers are our prefrontal cortex, so that is our thinking brain. Okay? And when this bit is online, it's like it's giving our fear centre a hug. And it is keeping everything feeling really calm, and we are able to think logically, we're able to make sense of stuff, we're able to be creative, so we can be rational, but we can also be empathetic and connect with people well. Now then, there's lots of situations and people that come along in our lives, aren't there, that cause us to not feel like that, and we call that flipping our lid. Okay, so this is when we're feeling rational and empathetic, and all of a sudden something comes along and we flip our lid, and that fear centre is able to go as mad as it wants. And it's effectively us in survival mode, isn't it? We fight, or we run away, or we freeze, or we kind of flop on the ground. And actually it means we start being disconnected from everything that's going on around us. It's very overwhelming, we don't understand our own emotions, we can't connect with people very well. So for us to know more peace, and for us to be able to live peacefully with other people, it's actually really useful for us to notice, what is it that regularly makes me flip my lid? What can I actually be doing about that? Because maybe it is a pattern. Maybe there's certain situations that are often making that happen. And what can I do to bring me back into that calm and peaceful state? And I wonder if you actually spend much time thinking about what peace looks like for you, or what it means. Because actually it's not the same as feeling happy, is it? Or feeling relaxed, or calm, even though I've slightly been using that interchangeably so far. It's not about having no problems, because as we'll see in a bit, we can also feel God's peace, even when we're having an incredibly difficult time. But there's also something in our physiology, how our body feels, that is giving us clues to when peace is present or when it's not present. So we're going to have a little go at practicing something that shows you how that works. And it might be something that actually you can use next time you kind of feel like you've flipped your lid or something's going on. So I want you to make sure you're sitting comfortably, and you're just going to take a moment and think about, how does my body feel right now, and how does my mind feel right now? And then we're going to take a few deep breaths, really slow ones, but whatever pace is normal for you. Then we're going to take any two fingers, and we're going to rub our fingertips together so slowly and with such attention that you can notice the fingertip, your fingerprint ridges moving across each other. Now we're going to move our attention to what we can hear, and I want you to focus on the furthest away sound that you can hear. Just concentrate on that furthest away sound. And now I want you to move your attention to the closest sound to you, which might be your breathing. Just focus on the closest sound for a bit. And then when you're ready, you can come back to us. So whether you enjoy doing stuff like that or not, or whether you think it's a load of rubbish, something will have changed in your body whilst we were doing that. Because things like that slow our heart rate, they help us feel more regulated and more connected to things that are going on. So it's just a little example of different things that actually we've got in our power to really help us feel more peaceful and connect with the people around us a lot better. And it doesn't fix everything, it's not the same for everyone, different people need different things, but actually it is just something we can try, or somewhere you can start then going with it to find out what works for you. Now this is another tool that can be helpful when we want to live peacefully with other people, and it's called relational circuits. Okay? So when our relational circuits are turned on, we feel more ourselves, and we are more able to be ourselves and have good relationships with people. However, it's very easy for our relational circuits to get turned off and then stay that way. So here's a checklist of things that might turn relational circuits off. Okay, so you're suddenly thinking, I just want this problem or this person to go away now. I don't want to listen to what other people feel or say. My mind is locked onto something upsetting. I don't want to be connected to someone who I normally really like. I just want to get away, or fight or freeze, or I more aggressively interrogate, judge, and fix others. So if the answer is yes to any of those at any point, that means we've just turned our relational circuits off, and it's been really difficult to connect with people. And turning those back on can literally be as simple as taking a few breaths, or counting to 10, or giving ourselves a bit of a pep talk of, it's going to be worth me speaking to someone that I actually do normally like. It just feels a bit difficult right now. Maybe we want to go and ask someone for help or apologise to someone. And a lot of this comes down to making a choice, doesn't it? Am I going to pay attention to what is going on for me and what is going on for other people, and maybe reach out to someone? Now, part of my job during the week involves running a course for companies and helping people to look at how to be more successful. And we have this phrase that we get people to memorise, which is, what you think about isn't nearly as important as the way you think about what you think about.
Whoa.
Oh, I know. It's a good one. So what you think about isn't nearly as important as the way you think about what you think about. And that is important because if you are someone who believes that you don't feel peace, or that you don't deserve peace, your brain is then going to go and look for all the evidence that confirms I'm not someone who gets peace. So we talk to ourselves in a way that makes us believe that we are hard to get on with, or that someone else is hard to get on with. And we keep repeating it to ourselves quite often subconsciously, and then keep living like it's true, even when there's usually a possibility for it not to be true. So what would it look like for us to flip that and for us to start telling ourselves, I am someone who is peaceful, or I am someone who lives peacefully with others? Sounds like quite a small thing, but it can actually make a massive, massive difference to things. Now, these verses that we've read also talk about thankfulness and gratitude. So I wonder what it would look like to think about the way that we're thinking about gratitude as well. Are we actually a bit sceptical about whether gratitude really helps us? Are we thinking that we have every right not to be thankful because everything's rubbish? What would it look like to train our brains to be thankful whatever the circumstances? There's a lot of studies and a lot of stuff in the Bible that does tell us that it really, really shifts things when we can be thankful. So, that is what is in our control as humans. And now we're going to look at all the things that God can do, no matter what our circumstances. And I'm going to talk to you about this using what is my least peaceful week of the year so far. I'm going to give you a little example. It was May. I was running a half marathon, which you probably all got bored of hearing about, on the Sunday. I was not looking forward to it. I really did not want to do that. But I was doing it for good, so I was like, okay, we're doing it. It's going to be really hard and boring, but I've trained for 7 months and hope it's going to be amazing. So that was the end goal for that week. I was also facilitating a 2-day course in Nottingham, and to be able to do that work, I'd gone through a 9-stage interview process and been learning said script from my not peaceful photo. And I figured out that script is actually longer than like a show that you would go and see at the theatre. So I wasn't feeling great about it, putting quite a lot of pressure on myself for this course to be amazing. Because it was my first one that I was going to do for this company. And then my phone broke, and it was turning on and off every 60 seconds. And I needed my phone to get on a train, to pay for things, to contact this company that I was working with, check on my family, like all the things. So that's going on and off the whole time and not holding any charge. He decided that me going to Nottingham to run the course, I have other people kind of interviewing me to see if I want to write them a course, which would be months of work, which is quite a big deal because I'm self-employed and things change all the time. So I'm trying to prove myself to them. I'm also trying to publish a book, which is with the typesetters, and the typesetter suddenly messages me and says, oh, we've got to pause everything, my wife's been hit by a bus. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So I'm now feeling really worried about the typesetter's wife and all the things happening. Then all the social workers and other foster carers start phoning me and updating me on all kinds of things going on with children that I've previously cared for. And I'm thinking, I just really don't know how many children are going to be in my house next week or what this all means for a year's time. And really struggling to piece it all together in my head. Then another friend phones me and says, oh, you know, when you said that you'd be a legal guardian for your goddaughter 8 years ago, I just wanted to check in about that because I'm having an operation in 3 weeks, probably might die, high chance. So if that happens, could you come to Germany and get my daughter, please? So I walked into church on that Sunday, probably saw me. It was the week when Chris was filming, in fact. And you probably saw me looking fairly relaxed, smiling, chatting to people. What do you think was actually going on there? Because there's a few options, isn't there? Either I actually have no emotions and I don't care about anything, and none of that impacted me one bit. Maybe I'm superhuman and I've got ridiculous capacity and it's all fine. Or possibly something supernatural was actually going on and I could walk through the door and I could still smile and connect with people. Now you could say there was a fourth option, in that maybe I'm just really good at hiding everything and I just don't tell anyone anything. But actually there are situations, aren't there, when it's not appropriate or reasonable to tell everyone every detail of their life. I probably wouldn't be living peacefully with all of you if I came in every week and gave you literally every single detail of everything that's been going on and never asked you how you are. But, so some social and emotional awareness comes into that, but overall, I can guarantee you, I'm not superhuman, I was in quite the state, and I do deeply care about things. So what was actually happening was I had and was continuing to have an encounter with God's peace. And that is available to all of us at any point. We might be crying out for it and not seeing it when we really, really are hoping for it. But knowing that it is there does give us the hope that the possibility of that peace can be gifted to me at any point. And it does really change things when we remember that. Now, something else that we often forget, especially when things are not feeling peaceful, is that God is the same all of the time. All of the time. And so I'm wondering how we might want to change how we think about what we think about God and his changeability. Because it's easy to get cross with God, isn't it? And it's fine to tell him how we're feeling about things and be really honest. But sometimes we do need to switch our thinking. Because do we forget that God is good when things aren't going our way? Or do I stop believing peace is possible when I'm upset or cross about something or someone? Do I stop hoping for change when it feels like something hasn't happened on my timeline? So we need to also be training our brains to look out for those things and the things that we can be thankful for, even when it's our least peaceful week. When we get all that in check, then whatever comes our way, we can just go straight to God, can't we? Remembering those truths and remembering that he's going to come and be with us and bring that peace. We can say to him, I'm remembering you're still good today, God. Thank you that your peace is available to me, even when I don't feel it or see it as much as I'd like to. Thank you that you care deeply for me and my relationships with people at home and at church. Thank you that you can change things and you can help me be more peaceful and more thankful. And would you show me which things are on my list, in my control, and which things you do in your power. And I just want to finish by reading you the Serenity Prayer, which is something that's used in recovery, probably really familiar to you if you know anyone who's gone through addictions or Alcoholics Anonymous. But I think this is so key for everyone. So I'm just going to end by reading this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.